Hey, all right. Hopefully, you guys are able to hear me on the mainstream part two. Mainstream part two. I am Jacadero, filling in for Brother Koku here on Shoot the Breeze, episode 241 on the Bitter Medicine podcast. We've been dealing with a lot tonight, huh? They Lord of Slaughter says, "What happened?" Even me, I don't know. Even me, Lord of Slaughter, I have no idea. But what I do know is that YouTube is pretty stringent on copyrighted material. But who knows? Maybe they didn't like the way that we were talking about Chud the Destroyer. Trigger Happy says it seems to have stopped at the 2 hour mark. I don't know. Lord of Slaughter, Trigger Happy. I don't know. But hopefully my panelists come back. And hopefully we're on the mainstream as well, so that way more people can watch. All right. Well, give me a moment here to try to see if we can have the Shoot the Breeze, because I think we were at the Shoot the Breeze topic number 4. Let me see if I can get that video for you guys. And it deals with rage bait, and also, is it rage bait that we got to get rid of, but should we also be standing up for our race? This ties a lot into Chud the Destroyer, Cheddar Bob's whole platform about rage baiting black people on the street with racial epithets, but also in your normal everyday life, whether that's microaggressions at work or just straight up disrespect. How many videos have we seen where black people who live in a townhouse, apartment, condo are not being allowed inside and having to prove that they're residents at those residencies? So give me a moment here and we'll have a video that explains that, and also asking the question. Give me a moment here. Or just again, guys, I'm doing this just off of the top. All right, let's see if this. Okay, well, looks like it works. All right, so Shoot the Breeze topic number 4: is he right or just ignorant? Again, this is a guy explaining that or promoting that we as black men specifically should not be rage baited by racial epithets. But for more on that, let's see here. Do I have? Okay, I think I do have it. Stand by.
I'm sick and tired of seeing black people trying to debate, our humanity. I'm sick and tired of seeing black people trying to debate, our humanity with these demons. Stop putting it up for debate, because it's not up for debate. You'll never see a Jewish person argue with you about, the Holocaust. If you are a Holocaust denier, if you are anything regarding the realm and the giant umbrella of anti-Semitism, they shut it down.
Do you see how you're equating this individual word that doesn't have real meaning unless you to the holy book, to the word?
Every word has meaning, brother.
The word of God compared to a word about slavery, where slavery doesn't exist anymore.
No meaning.
Because they know by having that argument, you are now legitimizing, that person's position. That's what you're doing by argument. If you're trying to say, hey, we shouldn't, the N-word this, and, well, it's different when white persons say, you're legitimizing the even thought, the idea that these individuals, these demons, should be allowed to say it, or that it's okay, or that why are people, it's just a word and all that. No other group does that, bro. I'm sick and tired of seeing black people trying to debate, our humanity with these demons. Stop putting it up for debate, because it's not up for debate. You'll never see a Jewish person argue with you about, the Holocaust. If you are a Holocaust denier, if you are anything regarding the realm and the giant umbrella of anti-Semitism, they shut it down.
Do you see how you're equating this individual word that doesn't have real meaning unless you to the holy book, to the word?
Every word has meaning, brother.
The word of God compared to a word about slavery, where slavery doesn't exist anymore.
No meaning.
Because they know by having that argument, you are now legitimizing, that person's position. That's what you're doing by argument. If you're trying to say, hey, we shouldn't, the N-word this, and, well, it's different when white persons say, you're legitimizing the even thought, the idea that these individuals, these demons, should be allowed to say it, or that it's okay, or that why are people, it's just a word and all that. No other group does that, bro. I'm sick and
All right. Once again, if you're just joining in, we apologize. I apologize on behalf of the Bitter Medicine Podcast and Quasi Radio team. But our stream got cut. So please welcome back on. And it looks like we're back on the mainstream now. YouTube is doing their best to police us, but it's okay. It's okay. Khalid Muhammad said, hold the line, and we're holding on the line. I am Jacadero, proudly filling in for Brother Koku here on Shoot the Breeze episode 241. Shoot the Breeze topic number 4, because we left right when number 4 was about to be dropped. Ask, is he right or just ignorant? Again, that video with that gentleman saying we shouldn't be rage baited by any other race, calling us racial epithets, especially this the N-word with the ER. Black Steel, what say you? Is he right or just ignorant?
Man, he's dumb as shit, man. Let's be honest, bro. Nobody, let me say this, right? Black people are human, right? We are human beings. There exists a concept such as fighting words, right? So if I was to see a man walking down the street and I was to say, man, your wife sucked my dick last night, right? That would probably provoke him to a rage. If he says about somebody's daughter or somebody's mother, or, we understand that fighting words exist within society, right? And that's something that is a well-known concept. So, it says, and we talk about it. So to say that Black people should just ignore racial slurs, or we shouldn't let those slurs get under our skin, is just, in a way, it's just downright dehumanizing. Is what it is. Because again, he says that Jewish people don't read. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They just fight back differently. They fight back with lawyers, right? There's a whole country out there called Israel, right? I don't know if y'all heard of this country, right? This whole country has an intelligence asset called the Mossad that kills people or blackmails people. So to make it seem like their warfare is just on a higher level because Black people lack power, right? And this is really what this whole conversation revolves around. Black people's lack of power, and power to protect ourselves from our enemies and to harm those who wish to harm us. This is the problem. We lack power. So the reason why we don't hear those slurs, there's plenty of slurs for Asian people, plenty of slurs. But the reason that we don't have white people going through Chinatown and calling, all type of Chinese people names or whatnot, is because China has power, right? They have a way to sanction and punish their enemies as a people. That is not something that African Americans or Black people in general has the ability to. We just don't have that. So I think it's the whole idea that we should just ignore the slurs and let it go, because it doesn't stop at slurs, right? Slurs is where it starts. That's where it begins. And then from there, it goes to the harassment, the murder, the genocide of our people. It starts with slurs. We should not be okay with that. We should not be accepting of that. And we understand how fighting words work. These words are not protected. They say, okay, so look, in U.S. constitutional law, fighting words are a specific category of speech not protected by the First Amendment. This doctrine applies only to the speech directly aimed at an individual that is highly likely to provoke an immediate physical retaliation from the person hearing it. Okay? So the idea that Black people should just ignore slurs, they're protected by the First Amendment, is just blatantly false. It's just blatantly false. So I'll leave it there. I'll let this person speak. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Black Steel. Man, strong stance. And I mean, it's warranted, your strong stance. Again, I am Jacadero, proudly filling in for Brother Koku here on Shoot the Breeze episode 241 on the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Welcome back, guys. Again, if you're just tuning in again, the first stream there was two things that happened. Number one, I guess you could call it shadow ban, but it was just limited to a tablet and mobile stream, and then they cut the stream. Again, apparently, maybe somebody at YouTube is friends or a big supporter of Chud the Destroyer. Maybe I shouldn't even say this name so much, huh? Maybe that's what's triggering YouTube to cut streams. But nonetheless, we're back. Khalid Muhammad said, hold the line. We're holding the line, and holding the line is what we're going to continue to do. Buana joins us again in the panel. Thank you for coming back, Buana. We are sending out alerts as much as possible to let you guys out there know. But Buana, what say you? Is he right based on the video? Hopefully you got to watch it. Should we be triggered as black men by racial epithets, or is he just ignorant?
No, I think he's just ignorant. Black Steel earlier, he quoted Professor Derek Bell, Faces at the Bottom of the Well. He quoted Derek Bell saying that racism is a permanent condition. And I will only add to that, so is ignorance, especially with human beings. It's a permanent condition. And there are some people, despite the fact that you could debate with them under the table in terms of the word and meaning of the word and the N-word, and try to get them to understand why certain groups shouldn't use those terms. They will continue either with the word itself or with the behavior against the people who they deem as that word. So I think for me, there's some conversations I just don't have anymore. And I think that the gentleman is right. You shouldn't be debating your humanity with people who are one to hop on the question whether your humanity is relevant or not. Everyone understands where that term comes from, especially non-white people who wants to use that word in a ridiculous way. Now, some may justify and say, well, black people use the word all the time. Well, like I say, just as racism is a permanent condition, so is ignorance. So is ignorance. And I don't like to sit around and arguing with ignorance all day. And I don't want to sit around debating whether my humanity is valid or not all day. And the guy, he was a pair with the Jews. We put Palestinians and Jews in a room. Sometimes they didn't want to have a discussion about certain things. They just walk away from one another because either it's going to lead to a severe fight, or they're never going to come to any kind of agreement or conclusion on a particular thing. And I think that even though this guy, he looks like he's a black guy, by the way, I just don't have certain conversations anymore, whether they are ignorant or whether they are racialized on a certain. See, if a person like Chad DeBilla was walking around saying the N-word, I would just walk straight past him. I would just walk straight past him. Because me personally, I have a particular goal that I want to meet out. And I think that black people should get an agenda as well. The issue ain't for some brothers, the issue is the utterances or words being demeaning and things like that. Me personally, it's to deconstruct the system itself, the institution that creates people to say these words. So I have a bigger goal and a bigger purpose in mind. I don't want to fight you on a street level. I want to fight you on an institutional level. I want to fight you on a human level. I want to deconstruct the whole system itself. And I'm not going to do that having debates or having these street side arguments where we get nothing actually accomplished or done. The goal should be bigger for black people. For me, and this is my thinking at this particular point in time. The goal of a gang member is not to fight or try to unalive Chud the Builder. It's to stop being the gang member first and foremost. To stop being a gang member, to stop practicing criminality in his neighborhood, to try to be something effective in his community as opposed to being a gang member. That's the first thing he should try to decide to do. Not to find this guy, to check this guy, and to reference this guy and say, well, you should stop saying the word N-word. No. The goal is to stop being aggressive and practice niggerisms against the people who look like you within your own neighborhood. So, like I say, this, for me, I think it is just ignorance. It is just ignorance, and there's certain conversations you should just tap out of, I believe. But I'll leave it there.
I appreciate it, Buana. Once again, welcome back to the mainstream, I believe. Here, Shoot the Breeze episode 241 on the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am Jacadero, proudly filling in for Brother Koku. We had the first stream cut, but we still got to keep things going. The show doesn't stop. D Webb, thank you for coming back as a panelist. What say you based on what you've heard? Is he right, or that gentleman just ignorant?
Unfortunately, I didn't catch the video. I just got back in. I did hear the comments, and I kind of get the gist of what's going on. So just on the strength of that, nobody should accept being disrespected, you know, whether it be racial slurs, whether it be slurs in general. No, as a grown ass man, we should not be subject to be just having to accept being called anything outside of our name, our God-given name. At the same time, we do live in this age of where virality, where paid engagement does exist now, where just in general we have people that may think they have a grasp of the law. And I used to say this all the time. I say, like, bro, like you can't go to the court of law and argue a nigga defense, right? There's no such thing as a nigga defense in the court of law. So, you know, if somebody comes with you with slurs and you're gonna want to take it there, just realize, you know, if you take it there, you're gonna have to deal with whatever comes afterwards. I'm not saying do or don't, right? Just realize that it's a bigger scope into that. But particularly, we just got to recognize when we're being baited, right? If it's just some crazy person talking crazy to us, and as a man, there's no cameras running around, you want to handle your business, handle your business. But we kind of gotta realize we in this new age where people are trying, you know, you said earlier about the Chud thing, you got these copycatters now, things of that nature. We got to be cognizant of that, and don't even talk to these cats, because that's what they're trying to get, right? It's not a very interesting stream if everybody is walking away from you, right? I want to say it was the street interview I seen. I think it might have been in Japan or China or something. It was a black dude, and every time trying to walk, like, people just like walking away, ignoring him. All these older Asian people was like, nah, I ain't talking to you. We kind of got to sometimes practice that shit. When you see somebody with a camera or somebody with an agenda or whatever, nah, keep pushing, though. I ain't got nothing to say to you. I'm not going to be the entertainment for you. So just be cognizant, just be a little smart on how we move. Not saying don't handle your business, because I am a advocate of you know, meeting ignorance with ignorance when it's called for, right? But we got to be cognizant and move the way we got to move these days, because you got a lot of fucking mentally ill people trying to go viral and don't want to work, and they're trying to get some money about you in the rise. So that's all I got, bro.
I appreciate it, D Webb. In the chat, what we have is Trigger Happy says, yeah, we should never debate the legitimacy of what was accosted to us. True indeed. And Cheryl, what's going on, Cheryl? Welcome. Man, thank you for being patient. I don't know if you got a chance to see the first stream, but for this second stream, I appreciate it. She adds, Myron Gaines is a buffoon. I don't know if this is Myron Gaines or you're just saying Myron Gaines. I don't know if this guy is Myron Gaines, but nonetheless, yeah, Myron Gaines is these guys, man. Myron, Charleston White, what D Webb, to add to what D Webb was saying, and Wanna and Black Steels, we are in the age now where, because social media has monetized content creators, that's not bad. But there are some among us that will do anything for money, anything that doesn't have them go to a job or work for themselves. I say that in the context, like, you know, there's enough of us that live in cities here in the United States where the only options is either start your own business, like a car detailing business, become a mechanic, become a personal trainer, or go work at Amazon. And then there's nothing wrong with, you know, warehouse work. But there's some of us that say, no, and I'm going to literally sell myself out on a racial context to get money. And it's pretty sad. I never thought that somebody like Charleston or Myron would be paid attention to. I grew up knowing and watching that the crazy guy on the street corner, you stayed away from. You didn't even pay attention to what that person was saying, whether they were reading the Bible or whether they were just talking about conspiracy theories. That guy screaming on the corner, you never paid attention to. Now, that person, same person, has a podcast or has a streamcast, and thousands and thousands of people are paying attention to, and we give sometimes that attention. I don't know. I just never thought that I would live to see that person on the street corner being as crazy as can be given a platform to be somewhat taken seriously. Trigger Happy adds, Myron Gaines is Sudanese from what I understand. And he adds, dude does look like Myron. You know, for all my guys in the panel, my question is, okay, you know, Juana, you stated that, you know, you will just walk away. You know, should I don't even know if we can say his name because they possibly ended the stream, but that white boy from Tennessee saying racial epithets, at what point does it become a concern of yours then, to where you have to say, hey, what's up? Because if this is what you want, what do they say? Poking the bear? You've poked me enough times. What you want to do? And I ask that just because, you know, my stepfather, he's South Sudanese, and he said that he almost got, well, not almost, but he was almost in a difficult situation when he first came to America. He worked at a meat processing factory, and one of the employees was constantly telling him while flicking meat, imagine flicking meat at him, go back to your country. Why are you here? This is the early 90s, I think 1992, 1993. And one day my stepfather blacked out and jumped at him, and other African immigrants had to hold him back. Well, the next day they found out what was going on and they fired that guy. But nonetheless, you know, again, you can ignore, right, and not get quote unquote triggered. But at what point does it come to a point where you, especially as a black man, have to say, hey, enough is enough? Again, anybody on the panel can answer this.
So for me, if I'm with one of my children, my mother, my lady, and then I got to step to you, right? I can deal with a lot, you know. I realize I have a lot to lose by getting involved in some dumb stuff, right? You got a lot to lose. However, when it comes to protecting my loved ones, then all bets are off. So that when I feel the need to be protective of my people I love, that's when I gotta step to you, because if I can walk away, I can ignore you, but my children, my mom, my girl, nah, I'm not going to let them be put in harm's way, and I'm not going to be a coward either. So for them, I would lay down my life, but you know, that's just my thoughts when it comes to protecting my loved ones. Is when it's time. When it's go time.
I have watched the President of the United States. He has targeted specific Black communities, in particular Somalia, in the Somalian American community. He is not only calling them criminals and fraudsters, but he's called them many other things. Now, he is the leader of the country. So not only that, he's went a step further. He's accused a representative of Congress, Ilhan Omar, of many different things, made various different claims about her. And there was a guy, when she was giving a speech in Minnesota, who attacked her. Now, Ilhan Omar has protection, you know, because it gets to a point to where it gets dangerous. The rhetoric gets dangerous. But the Somali community, it seems, in Minnesota, they are very quiet in the response to how they will respond to any lone wolves coming up to Minnesota and trying to meet out the president's agenda against that community. But if situations become dangerous, I think that the community need to collectively come together and decide what they're gonna do when it gets dangerous. I am really curious about how what the response is by the Somali community in Minnesota, because I've not heard any lone wolves going up there and trying them, even with the dangerous rhetoric that the president himself has said against not only one of their representatives but the community in general. I've not necessarily heard from them, but I'm sure they protected themselves in a very insular way. They've been very, very quiet, but that the community will survive. They'll exist. and they'll continue to grow in terms of business within that community. They'll survive President Trump, even though his rhetoric has been extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. But if it gets to a point to where they will have to have some meted out response, they only can do what they can do. They're not the military. They're not the police office. Some of them are police officers in Minnesota, but they're not to the level where they'll be. I'm sure there'll be a communal response. But I'm sure they'll seek ways in trying to protect themselves if it gets to that point to where it gets dangerous. But as far as them responding in words, you don't hear the Somali community going word for word when the president says that these guys are fraudsters, con artists. They come to this country from shit old places and different. You don't hear any responsive rhetoric from them. They just continue to build quietly. And I'm very curious about how they are actually going about it, because the community, the businesses have not been shut down in Minnesota. They're still going about their daily business and doing what they need to do, and they're gonna eventually take over that city in a minute. Because the war. Sorry, guy, Black Steel. Let me just finish. The war sometimes is not only fought in fisticuffs or bullet by bullet. Sometimes the war is fought economically. So they doing it what they need to do in Minnesota. So we'll see. Go ahead, Black Steel. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
I was just wanting to add that there was a whole thing about how the Somalian daycare centers were committing fraud or something like that. So now you got these streamers, these online clowns again, trying to get into the daycare centers to check to sure there are actually children in there. So this is like, to your point, yeah, the Somali community hasn't really responded, but Trump is the type of person, he definitely is a stochastic terrorism. He likes to say inflammatory things to get other people to do his dirty work. So now again, you have the online dudes going around and saying they want to do a welfare check on the kids, knowing damn well you're not going to let anybody in with a room full of children to do a quote unquote welfare check, and you're not licensed with the state. So they are doing that. They may not be responding a different way, but the government is definitely investigating them. They're starting out small. They're poking their defenses to see what they can do to legally get rid of them, because this Republican system wants it wants to make the United States a white Christian nation.
Question. Have any of y'all actually build with the Somali community? Have y'all been to Minnesota or Minneapolis before?
I've never been.
I can't say that I have either.
So my uncle lived up there, right? I've been up there a few times. And like I said, no disrespect to anybody. At the end of the day, I'm a Pan-African, but they weren't very welcoming. I keep it a beam with you, dog. That's why kind of hearing this is kind of, it was interesting to me to hear that, because Ilhan Omar is married to a white dude, right? And if you ever been up there, if you feel free to travel up to Minneapolis and say they're very within their own community, bro. It's not much building between the black people. You have a lot of black people too that move to Minnesota because it's easier to get Section 8, right? So a lot of people go from Chicago to Minnesota. There's a lot of transplants. That's why another reason I've been up there a few times. But they don't really fuck with us, man. I ain't even gonna lie to you, as there's no building of the community. I don't wish no bad upon nobody's community, especially with this administration or whatever. But it's there's no bridge building that I've seen up there between the black people here and the Somali community there. So that's why I was asked that question specifically. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see a Myron Gaines who's more so trying to appeal to the white people, because it's almost like that's been taught, you know what I mean? And I'm not sure it's Nipsey. I think Nipsey might have been, I'm not sure if his background was Somali. I could be wrong on that, He's one of the few I've seen that actually build and with the community he was in there and stuff like that. So I just wanted to know what y'all experience was with that. But I didn't get welcome to with open arms up there. But that's all. But
D-Web, I have a question, brother. See, in the United States, the United States is a Christian nation by and large, right? And the Somali community are mainly Muslim. And usually and not only they're Christian, they have a battery in their back for Muslims, especially after 9/11. So the Christian community are somewhat very hostile to Muslims, and that would cause any Muslim community to not necessarily be open-handed to any Christians, whether they black or white. They would be very suspicious. Let's put it like that. So that may be one of the reasons, and I don't know if your uncle was a Muslim or not, by the way. That may be one of the reasons why they were not so, I guess, open-handed to your uncle in terms of him going and trying to establish himself. Because the black community, whether they in New York, Chicago, whatever, they still Christians. And the Somalis may not necessarily draw lines on color, they draw lines based on religion. So that may be, and I'm not saying for certain like certainty, but that may be one of the reasons why he may have not been so much embraced, because they don't really draw the lines up on terms of color as opposed to religion itself.
And that could be a problem, though. You see how that can kind of be a problem as well. You feel me? And I've been to Muslim countries. You feel me? And I've been, treated a little bit better myself in terms of that. But like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of why it was, but they are very much within their own. They really only fuck with their own, which I think is kind of crazy. When you're in a different land, you think you will want to build with the melanated people there. Maybe not. Maybe it's more, maybe the history of Somalia makes you apprehensive. I don't know what the answer is, but I just know I felt that energy that, like, we ain't fucking with you. You know what I mean? So.
Man, interesting topic at hand. Before we get into our new panelists that will join the chat, some of the comments here. The Somali angle that D-Web brought up. Well, actually, that the entire panelists brought up, but that D-Web dove deeper and sparked engagement into the chat. I don't even know where to start. Well, Black Steel says, not as much as these white nationalists want. They want Sharia law, but with the Christianity instead of Islam. Trigger Happy says, Somalis, to be fair, have a history of Pan-Africanism. Some would argue their troll types are an internet type. Some would argue it's not an internet thing. Cheryl adds, so Somalis fuck with the NOI as a Nation of Islam? I don't think so. Some would even ask, is the NOI even, Pan-Africanist organization, Cheryl? Some would even question that. Again, this is
the Orthodox Muslims don't see the NOI as an Islamic religion. They see that as a ram. So even if they call it Nation of Islam, they still would mess with them, because they look at the Nation of Islam as something that is outside the realms of Islam itself, even though they call themselves the Nation of Islam. So,
but
and the Nation of Islam is not Pan-Africanist, because they glaze Gaddafi, and they glaze a lot of Arabs. They don't do no pushback on what's going on in North Africa. They're not Pan-African.
All right, before we get into our panel, new panelists, thank you guys for coming back to the new stream. The first stream was cut. Also, it was shadow banned, just available on the tablet or your phone stream. But nonetheless, we're still here. I'm Jacadero, proudly filling in for Brother Koku here on Shoot the Breeze episode 241. Thank you guys, each and every one of you guys, the viewers, the panelists, and everybody else that might be just having this playing in the background. We thank you guys, because realistically, we do it for you guys. Kofi, welcome to Shoot the Breeze episode 241. Hope you're doing well. How are you? And also, did you get a chance to hear the video that is playing at silence in our background?
Oh, no, I did not, but I do look at the Amazing Lucas, so it's probably something that I did see before. I'm trying to join the panel in and out, just real busy tonight. What really sparked me to call in is Wanda's point about the Somali community, and it's a Somali community have solidarity with African Americans, and the opposition always likes to paint people that they don't like with a broad brush. Oh, Myron Gaines. Okay, so you're representative for all Somalis. Yeah, Myron Gaines, Myron Gaines. It's an idiotic thing to do. I mean, I've seen during the whole George Floyd protest, there was Somalis. I saw it was probably like a TikTok or Instagram. There was Somalis protesting, you know what I'm saying, with George Floyd, for George Floyd, for the injustice that happened to George Floyd, but Derek Chauvin did to that. But no one's gonna shed light to that because solidarity and happiness and Black people coming together, that doesn't give clicks. That don't get likes. So who cares about that? And one thing Bwana did say that it could be, after 9/11, because remember, so those Somalis there, from my understanding, these aren't like first generation Somalis. These are like second, third generation Somalis that's been there for a while. So I'm in the IT industry, so I work with some Muslims, right? One of my coworkers, he told me here in New York about when 9/11 happened, he was going to high school and how he was just terrorized in his high school to the point where he had to leave regular public school and go to a Muslim school. And they had to and they were getting picked on. They taught them self-defense upon martial arts. He said, I had to, they were teaching us how to defend ourselves because we were just being picked on for just being Muslim. I'll never forget this story. I had a friend, she told me a story. She was with her other friends, Trinidadian girls, with Indian Trinidadian girl. They just ride in the train. And some white guy came on the train and was like, oh, I can't fucking stand you fucking Muslims, looking at her. He's like, I'm not Muslim, number one. Number two, I'm fucking Trinidadian. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of ignorant people believe this stuff. I'm not trying to, downplay. I'm sorry, the brother that spoke about his experience going over there with, visiting this. Like, I'm not trying to downplay your experience. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, it's a broader picture than our own individual experiences. So, we also have to understand who benefits from Black people fighting and dividing ourselves. It ain't white people. You know what I'm saying? So, you can't bond, you can't find solidarity with a particular group of Black people. Fine, let them go. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't speak for the rest of those groups of people. That's pretty much it.
I appreciate you, Kofi. I appreciate each and every one of you panelists, man. Thank you guys for coming back. Our second stream was cut. If you're just joining in, our first stream was cut. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys that are coming back. Hit the like button on this second stream. It helps for the algorithm. It helps for those that might not be aware that we're back on. But yes, I am Jacadero, proudly filling in for Brother Koku on Shoot the Breeze episode 241 on the Bitter Medicine podcast. The fourth topic, yes, we were at topic number 4. I was introducing it before the first stream got cut. It's went into so many different ways. Let's read some of these comments here. Trigger Happy says, yeah, just as most Black immigrants will come to America to assimilate, most of Black America is trying to assimilate. So it's really a dead end. Trigger Happy, whoo, it's in his name. He's always being trigger happy with a comment like that. Most of Black America trying to assimilate. Let's see if people agree. Cheryl says, doesn't make it right. That's what happens when you have, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that word, Cheryl. Maybe you have a reading level that is far beyond mine for them so long. It makes sense. She also says earlier, this isn't a battle to see who's more Pan-African. The point is that people ain't coming over here to unite based on anything, religion or Pan-Africanism. They come for the American dream, period. And to add more context to that, as well as the topic at hand, is this guy right about racial rage baiting, or is he just ignorant? We welcome Amma as a panel. Thank you, Amma, for coming on to the Shoot the Breeze episode 241, also coming to the second stream after the first stream was cut. Not sure if you were on the first one. How are you, and what say you?
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, like I would say to the question that was asked about are Black Americans Pan African, I don't even think that's a question. I'm sure most of them are not. Most of them are Christian conservative. They follow what they're in proximity to, which makes sense because they've been in proximity to YT people for how long? 400 years. It makes sense that they're not going to, majority of them are not going to be Pan African. It only makes sense. I'm not saying it's right, but when you have that much struggle and that, to me, like I'm Black American, but to me, there are a lot of things that that I understand about the civil rights movement. You know, I understand why they did what they did, but when you look back in retrospect, it's like, okay, but you know, you're fighting for integration at the end of the day. And you can say that looking back, but in that moment, people are literally just like how like not even 100 years out of slavery. You got to remember that. So a lot of people are still having, they're still severely psychologically connected to white people. They're so connected. But when you come over from another country, it's different. It's different, but it's similar. It's different in the sense that you're not in proximity to white people, but you have white religion. You still have neo-colonialism. But when you are in proximity to white people, I don't even think that should even be a question. Are Black Americans more Pan African? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. Look at our conditions. I mean, come on. Of course not.
I just want to push back on one thing, Charles. I agree with you 100%. But my pet peeve when people say that the civil rights was only about integration, that's absolutely wrong. Civil rights was about taxation without representation. Civil rights was about they are even though it says in the Constitution that you're American and you or have all the inalienable rights of American, that wasn't being held to the same status and caliber as Black Americans. So it was about integration, but it was about integrating Black people legally as Americans, because this is where we live. This is where we live nationally. So they have to represent us and support us. You know what I'm saying? So that's my only pushback.
I got you on that. But you know, some people will argue, and the only reason I said that is because some people will argue that we had better lives before the civil rights movement, back when we had our, you know, own towns, or you know the thing, you know, the Tulsa, Oklahoma, you know, Roseville, all that. Some people will argue against that, and that's the reason I say that. I'm not saying it because I believe it, but I'm trying to look at different perspectives, because everybody didn't even believe in the civil rights movement. Everybody wasn't even with Martin Luther King. You got to remember that. A lot of people weren't even with him like that. You know,
That's
so
true. That's very true.
that's what I mean. Like some Black people did not want to integrate with white people. They didn't want that all. They didn't care about the taxes. They didn't care about none of that. They just wanted to have their own everything, which they had their own everything. So I mean, it just depends on your perspective, really. It's not like, okay, you're wrong and I'm right, but it's just like depending on where you stand.
You know what, Alma? I've heard that argument before. Okay, I've heard that argument before, that uh, prior to the civil rights movement, you know, we had our own black towns and things of that nature. Black Americans had their own towns and that. But my only pushback to that ideal is a segregated town is different from a separate town. They're two different things. A segregated town is you have the town itself, and it may be run and controlled by Black people.
I
But
like that, Buana. I like that. I love that.
yeah, yeah, but you're paying taxes to a state or government, and you're not being properly represented in terms of education. You're not getting the quality books. You see, you get books from 1865 instead of 1965. You ain't getting proper medical care and treatment. You ain't getting the medications you need to support these towns to exist. The policing is not necessarily insular. The policing is people coming from out that town to police white, European, Caucasian police officers coming from out that town to police your Black town. So they never really discussed the nuances of a segregated town and a separate town. A separate town may be different. They may be divided, but you are getting the same representation. And that's sometimes I
Yeah.
don't hear that engagement in the dialogue itself.
In terms of the medical part, but do believe they did have their, in terms of how they got taxed, you're absolutely right on that. But in terms of the medical part, yeah, they definitely had their own medical institutions and their own, like all of
Was
them.
it the
They,
equivalent of a white
hold on,
enclave?
hold on,
Sorry,
hold, hold
sorry,
on,
Dad. Sorry, yeah.
hold on. Okay, so this is going to get me back, and I'm gonna come back around to that because you said that the black students in the black towns weren't getting adequate books for education. Now, I want to ask you, what kind of education? What education are you searching for?
Now, okay.
Are we talking about, you see what I'm trying to get at?
I'm talking about maths. I'm talking about sciences.
Whose
I'm talking about
education?
things that you could create your own MIT. These kinds of the dated books, because I've heard the
Mm,
discussions where the complaint back in the day were a lot of the textbooks they were getting were dated. They were old-fashioned books and things like that, not up to the level of things you needed in terms of the development of any community, society, whatever have you. It was not the equivalent of the white enclaves that existed. So you see, what happens is you either
So,
stagnate
okay.
or go back. Go ahead,
Okay,
sister. Go
but
ahead.
what are the what was the purpose of placing children in a school for 8 hours a day? What was the purpose of that?
The purpose of them was to, well, the purpose of any school is when you educate a child, the child is able to come out of that institution and forward their community and to help develop it in the community itself.
That's
Make
not
it
the
a better,
reason. That's not
well,
the
that's the
reason why
reason for
schools
any
came
school.
about. Okay,
Huh?
so the history of why schools became a thing, why, the 8 hour system that we have today. The reason for that, the reason that was instituted was because it had something to do with industrialization. So when they started outsourcing jobs and all the industrial jobs started going elsewhere, they started putting in the education system. So in other words, before your 8 hour a day class, I call it a giant daycare. Before that, you had people that were actually learning trades and skills, people working in factories. You had a lot of like different stuff going on during that time. It wasn't just about, oh, go to school, learn this or that. When you was going to school back then, you're not learning about no hard sciences. You wasn't learning about no MIT. You wasn't learning about any of that unless you had like a specialized school. Like, but an average school in America was not. They wasn't learning no MIT and none of that. It wasn't doing that. Um, so that's literally the reason it came about. Like if it wasn't for industrialization, we still was doing. If we were still like, if we still have factories and all that stuff, we wouldn't even have an 8 hour a day work. I mean, the school day. It's just very convenient because now parents got to go to work 8 hours a day. They got to do these things. They don't have a community. We don't have community the way that we used to. It's very convenient to have an 8 hour a day school time, and I mean it's convenient. It's not just for that. There's a history behind that, and I just want everybody to just like really understand that. And that's what it was meant for.
All right. In the chat, Trigger Happy says segregated means internal colonialism and separation equals liberation. Yeah. Well, D. Webb also adds the apprentice system prior to the Rockefeller school system designed to create factory workers. The rabbit hole could be a whole show. Well, is there any other remarks about the topic at hand? Go ahead.
I would like to add something. Um, Booker T. Washington. The Booker T. Washington system was where Booker T was trying to train children, school children, to have a hands-on approach in terms of building and creating industry, farming, and things of that nature. Is that what you were referring to, Alma? When you say that the
Can you say it
school
again?
system was different and the training was different in terms of, I guess, what whites was taught and how they were educated and how blacks were educated. Is that what you was referring to? I just wanted to be clear.
I think the main takeaway is that okay, like the way people put everything on education today and going to college, you gotta go to college, otherwise you can't get a job. Where all of these jobs are like not even allowing you to, all of these places aren't even allowing you to get a job unless you have a bachelor's, and you can have a bachelor's in anything. It doesn't even have to be related to the field that you're going into, and you'll still get in over another person if you have a bachelor's or a master's versus somebody who has an associate's. Whereas back then you can get by on a freaking you can get by on a trade. You can have a really good trade, and that's what was propped up back then. Nowadays, people on the street, if you talk to your average person, they're like, oh, you ain't gotta. People think that they're not smart if they don't got a bachelor's degree. Like literally, like this is how people been engineered nowadays. Like if you go get a trade, people are like, oh, but what you gonna do with that? Like when trades are really good to have. If you want to go to college, that's fine. Go into to engineering, hard science, or whatever. But you got a lot of people going. You got a lot of kids going into college. They don't even know they're doing liberal arts. They're doing English as maybe, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that's propped up. That's what is like the focal point right now, instead of like a hard trade where you actually have a skill and you can do something. That it's I'm just saying things have changed. People's mindsets have changed since then. And based on and people's values have changed. And you can see in what they value and what type of jobs people can get.
Oh, to add to that too, sorry to chime in, but even if you look at like if you're talking about repatriation, like the things that they need a lot of times in Africa is like it's this white, but I never forget this white dude. He's an MMA fighter. He's literally going around parts of Africa building wells, like so they can have drinking water and shit like that, right? So if you look at it in totality, a lot of times that it's great. I'm not knocking anybody that wants to go to college, get an education or whatever, right? But a lot of times from a practical standpoint, when you're talking like nation building and like uplifting nations and to get on the level of America was an industrialized nation. That's how they got to where they at. They were building fucking bombs and shit, right? They were propping up factories and people were getting their hands dirty. China now is producing a lot of the materials and things of that nature. That's how they got to where they're at right now. So I think it should be more of a premium put on practical type of deals where we're talking trades and stuff like that. That may be more valuable, particularly if you want to get out of this place, which I'm kind of like looking at modern society in this melting pot that's failing. They will need people to build stuff, to be able to engineer stuff and things of that nature. So unless you're going to school for like an engineering degree, you're going to school to be a medical doctor. But if you're going for like a bachelor's in business administration or some shit, to me, it's like, how much is that really needed, right? But that's just kind of my 2 cents.
Me personally, I agree with that. I am a huge advocate of trade schools. I'm a huge advocate of trade school, but I also am a huge advocate of the sciences and technology and things of that nature. But you don't necessarily need to go to college or university to do that. You can get certifications in this day and time to get these kinds of things. But your guys are absolutely right. You do need to know how to make things. You do need to, matter of fact, not only that, you do need to know how to maintain the things you make. And there are people who are willing to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. The funerary arts, people don't understand. People die every day. This is a skill and trade that people make almost become millionaires in. You know what I mean? And you don't necessarily need to go to a formal university to learn what feminist theory, to learn how to embalm a dead body and put them under the ground. So, and these are some of the things that I believe that our community needs heavily heavily. How to build a house. And I think that your guys are absolutely right. These things they should have been kept up with. Brother Bakari's son just graduated. I think he's trying to do law, but I think that the trades and trade skills, I think that these are some of the things it should be a heavy investment within our community. But when you tie it to a person who was able to go online and get 300,000 subscribers, and he is able to make $200,000 a year, sitting down just talking shit. I mean, what do you think people are gonna do? I mean, like Amma was saying, people motivations of change, and their ideas of quote unquote getting to the bag is a little bit different now. We living in a different time, and it's an unfortunate thing, man.
But you know what's crazy, boy? Like, did you say that real quick, bro? It is people making millions of dollars. Like, I ain't gonna say millions. They're making a lot of money just doing DIY videos, showing people how to change oil.
That's very true.
How to
yes, that's
stuff,
absolutely
fix
true.
things in their house.
That's
so it is
absolutely true.
For that, even online. So yeah.
I watched this guy called Rob Rebuilds, and he's a person, he just rebuilds like broken down cars and shit like that, Teslas and shit like that. And he has a million plus audience. So I'm sure that guy is making a big bag. So you're right, but do we have an interest in investing and watching DIY videos? I know I like them, but does our community like it? I don't know, but you are absolutely right. You could have videos and DIY videos showing people how to do certain things around the home and make millions of dollars from that. You are absolutely right.
So also one more thing. I think people also, like, with all of that y'all just said, like, we need all of that, and also we need people who are good with history, and we need a healthy amount of um like, okay, I'll start with the history part, because there's a lot of I think they're getting at grade school kids too now with this, with the bulk of history. The history that they're being taught is like feminist perspectives. It's not even real history. It's just like it's not real. Like they're not even learning. Like, they give them this half-ass history. They don't even teach them the whole history. We need like real African studies, African history. We need some psychologists sprinkled in there, because like we got all these, we want to have all of these people that can do all of these hard sciences, and we want to have people that can do the trades, but we also want them with the right mindset. So we need them to understand their own history. So that's important too. And because the history departments in colleges, they are flooded with them other people, and they are flooded with feminist perspectives, and that's what they shove down, especially with black studies. The black studies in colleges is being overtaken by the Rainbow Coalition. Is really bad. It's extremely bad. So we need some real people that's gonna break it down and not try to do this intersectionalism, and people that can actually teach. If you know your history, you know black history, that's where we need you too.
All right, in the chat, we have Trigger Happy says the importance in the arts and science always have a middle ground or fusion. Building the house is important, but the cultural design is important too. You know what else is important? We had a poll, and you guys participated in the poll. The poll asked, how much of Black America is Pan-African? And 5 to 10% actually. Well, there was 3 different votes. It was either 5 to 10%, over 10%, over 10%, or under 1%. And the one that won was 5 to 10%, 63% of the vote. So with Black America being that Pan-Africanism, do we see it? These are the questions that we can ask. Where do we see it? I know that here in Omaha, Nebraska, through the organization that I represent, that I'll talk about later, we try to show it as much as possible. So maybe some of you guys can highlight different ways where you guys are at in the United States on where Pan-Africanism is showing. Trigger Happy also adds, like, our cultural symbols have to be back in effect strongly. It said that Fractals have a strong psychology effect and are actually soothing. Trigger happy man, always intellectually deep, not just inflammatory with his triggering comments. If we don't have anything else as far as for this topic, we got a little bit off topic with Shoot the Breeze topic number 4. We'll go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 5. We might do a 6 if you guys are up for it, but we'll go to number 5. And it deals with us, and it deals with something not so well. We've been dealing with alarming topics at hand, and this one is pretty alarming to say the least. So it asks, would you stay or would you go? We go to Twitter X for a video on this topic. Again, Shoot the Breeze topic number 5, would you stay, would you go? I'm Jacadero, proudly filling in for Brother Koku here on Shoot the Breeze 241. Thank you guys for coming back to the second stream. The first stream was cut, so I thank each and every one of you viewers, or if you're just listening in the background, and then also our panelists. Well, before I show you guys the video, for those that may not know, South Africa is in a pretty interesting state, socially and politically. Well, socially on the ground, cities like Johannesburg, Durban, and Pretoria, Black South Africans are demanding that Black immigrants from other African countries leave and leave immediately. Recently, videos have surfaced saying that Black South Africans have given a date to other African immigrants, and that date is June 30th, 2026, to leave the country or suffer the consequences. These xenophobic attacks are not new, but now in 2026, for the world to see in 4K, is pretty alarming to say the least. Let's go to the video at hand, and we'll get into our panelists' thoughts, so stand by.
Where are you from? Where?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yes. So what are you doing here? Because we've been calling for you guys to leave the country. Why are you still here?
I was not to school for children.
No, my friend. No. Please respect what we are saying and don't try and oppose what we are doing. Don't listen to the government. Don't listen to the police. Don't listen to anyone. Just listen to us. We are saying this peacefully. Please go to your country. 30 June is the deadline, but it's not like you must leave on the 30th of June.
Yes.
Don't leave on the 30th of June. Leave now, because the 30th of June, I can't control people of South Africa. All right, let's do the right thing. Respect our country, respect us. Oh, wait.
You sit down here.
Yeah. What were you doing here?
No, I have a business here, so I'll go to school here. So they're gonna have a trip, so I'll go to get some good.
So who's this?
This is a boy, I know his name.
Yeah, so why is he running away?
I don't know.
Why are you running away? What?
I'm scared.
Do you know we started? Do you know what we started this thing in January, and we've been asking you guys to leave the country because we want to sort out our things in town. Why are you still staying in town? Well, because we've been begging for 6 months. We've been begging you guys to leave South Africa. Why are you still here? And then when you see us, you are running. So you are running. Where are you coming from? Uganda. So as you were running to Uganda. Where were you running to? Don't do this. No problem. The fight is not about you.
Yeah,
the fight is about correcting the systems and fixing our country. So we don't want to have a problem with you. Just please go.
Yes, man. Yes.
And what are you doing in town?
Just cooking food.
Phones.
Cooking food.
No, you can't leave your country to come and cook food here. It's not right. Constitutionally, you can't do that. Constitution doesn't allow that. Only South Africans must cook food. Please go home. Now Baba still in Hambe, and I'm coming back on Tuesday again. I don't want to see any foreign. Please. Where are you from?
Once again, welcome back to our second stream of Shoot the Breeze, episode 241, here on the Better Medicine Podcast. I think each and every one of you guys, the first stream was cut, but welcome back. And welcome back each and every viewer and also my panelists. It might be our last, might not be, depending on how our panelists feel. Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 asks, would you stay, would you go? After listening and watching that video, again, the context here is that South Africa's Black citizens are demanding that other African immigrants from other African countries leave. And they've given a date, June 30th, that you heard in the video. This gentleman, and then they brought a young boy who doesn't even have hair on his face to inquire what are they doing in the country and that they should leave and when exactly they're going to leave. We'll start off with Amma. Amma, what say you? Would you stay or would you go?
Before I answer that question, I got some questions. I got some questions. Like, how? Why? Why is this happening? What's the motivation behind why they want them to leave?
So to put it shortly, again, xenophobic attacks are not new in South Africa. Black South Africans have been attacking and demanding that other Black immigrants from other African countries leave because they are taking over the job force. Their economy, they say, is in shambles because of these Black immigrants. And the Black immigrants are from countries where they feel that they should just return to, even if they have corruption or whatever they're going through. They should go and fix their own countries, go back and reside there, not South Africa. A little also context, South Africa provides free healthcare, free education, and Black South Africans feel that the immigrants from these other African countries are using it as far as basically they're taking advantage of what South Africans feel like should just belong to South Africans.
Oh snap! So they trying to do what FBA trying to do. They try to be the same. It sounds like the same thing. Or you know what it sounds like with the healthcare? That sounds like was because you know how like people be like, oh, I will go to Canada because it's free healthcare, but it's not really free. You pay more taxes and your property taxes is higher and everything. Like you just don't see it. Like that's what I don't know the context behind the free healthcare there, but that tends to be how it goes in these places that say they got free healthcare. But I don't know because I don't know anything about their healthcare. But that's interesting. That's very interesting. That's wow. That's kind of funny. But that doesn't make sense. You know. You know what? I like to know how their education system is over there because clearly they're not being taught the right things. They don't know their own history. They can't know their own history if they're doing it. They can't. It's just like I don't know. Maybe I need to do a little more research on South Africa because this isn't making sense. It's like, did they just like forget the Boers exist? Like, I'm confused.
So again, I guess I just want your answer. Would you stay or would you go? You heard the June 30th, 2026 deadline as a Black immigrant. Would you stay or would you go, Amma?
I would stay because how they gonna verify it? If I speak your language, if I come over there and I'm from somewhere else in Africa and I speak your language, how you gonna verify it? I can just say I have a Zulu father and a Nigerian mother. I don't. What are you gonna do? And I speak the language. What are you gonna do? They have no way of verifying. This is just silly.
Amma says that she would stay. All right. Well,
absolutely, because they can't tell. If I lied, what they gonna do?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting indeed. D Webb of the Harsh Reality Podcast. What say you from the video that you've seen in the context that I brought? Would you stay or would you go?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the sister was saying, it's an interesting context. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know the ins and outs and ends of what's going on, particularly these other groups. Do they have beef going back sometime? Did the fucking other people help the Boers? Like, I don't even know if, like, for instance, I'm not gonna go on a big tangent about it because, like, let's say, for instance, the South Africans are making a movement to try to get the Boer out, and the Ugandans are coming helping in there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the context of that. And I'm ignorant of that, and I don't like to speak on shit when I don't have the full context of the full story. But just like in a broad general sense, to answer your question, in this particular situation, I'm not sure. Does this dude really have the power to kick you out of the country, right? Does he have he's running around with the cameras? Are they really attacking people to get them about the country? If I thought maybe my life was in fear, my life was in jeopardy, yeah, I'd probably go to the crib. You feel me? But if you have no real power and this is some play to get some clicks type of shit, because you're clearly recording this, right? You're clearly recording this, is making a show of it to a certain degree. So yeah, I would have to see if you actually have the power to do something to me. Then yeah, maybe I'd go if it's not worth it. But my question is, why they're even there? Is the economy there so better that you need to travel to South Africa? If that's the case, why is the economy better where you need to go to South Africa to try to make money? So it's way too much nuance in it for me, without doing the proper research. But in a vacuum, I would stay if he didn't have power. If he didn't have any power to make me go anywhere, then I'd switch around. I'd stay if he didn't have any extra power. But if I did fear for my life, I'd leave. That's my way of answering that.
Appreciate it, D Webb. Before we get into our next panelist, his thoughts. Again, I am Jacadero filling in for Brother Koku on this second stream. Yes, our first stream was cut, so we appreciate you guys coming back to the second stream of episode 241 on Shoot the Breeze on the Bitter Medicine podcast. In the comment section, we got a lot. Let's see here. Koku 911 says, meanwhile, the Boer reigns. Responding to the white South African, if you can even call them a South African. Trigger Happy says, but violence gets used against Black people. Yeah. Trigger Happy also adds, the only way for Pan-Africanism to work is the creation of an ethnic unit. That ethnic or racial unit can only happen through racial fluidity. Being puritanical about your ethnicity will never work. In reference to, hey, you need to be an absolute Yoruba, or you need to be an absolute Dinka of South Sudan, or you need to be, any of these other ethnic groups. Jam Rock Kid says, I think this is a broader counterinsurgency effort against Pan-Africanism. It's something. It is something. Cheryl in the chat says, can healthcare truly be free? He said they are taking jobs and free healthcare away. I don't think so. Again, this young man who barely has facial hair is so scared that he can barely answer the questions. D Webb says it depends on if he has the power to make me leave. We have no idea on how many people are behind the camera that's recording. And we have no idea on, if they're doing this in the daytime, what are they doing in the nighttime? But let me ask Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you? Would you stay or would you go? Again, June 30th is the deadline that they're giving Black African immigrants in South Africa. Would you stay or would you go?
Man, them niggas is crazy, man. I'm getting the fuck out. I'm not even gonna hold you. They literally like to tie old tires around people, fill them with gasoline and set them on fire. I'm gone. You can't. This is so disheartening to see. Honestly, it's really sad because we are living in a time of change, right? The world is going multipolar instead of a unipolar world, right? The United States is beginning to lose its dominance as the world's global superpower. And this is a time where Africa can assert itself. And instead of making moves to become a world power, to become self-sufficient, and to become independent, we are falling back into petty tribalism, the same tribalism that left Africa vulnerable to the Europeans and the Arabs. For what reason? You're literally fighting over scraps that the European, which is literally 7% of the population, and they own the majority of the farmland, they hold the majority of the wealth, and you're fighting another African person without which you wouldn't even be free from apartheid, right? So this week, right? We're winding up our finals this week, but we had a little unit talking about South Africa and apartheid with the kids and everything, and I showed them the famous picture from the massacre in Soweto where the young black man was killed, and the person holding his body was a black man who escaped to Nigeria because he was wanted by the South African police force. So he literally escaped the country. And where did he go? He was given asylum in Nigeria. So here we got 50 years later, and you're attacking Nigerians who gave your people sanctuary during apartheid. This is just sickening. This is mental behavior, and it's a pathological rejection of history. And I hate to see it, man, because no good can come from this. If you and I would say this: South Africa, their government needs to do a better job of protecting these people. If you're in their country legally, you have a work visa, you have a right to be there. You should not let some random folks on the street come and accost you and ask you where you're from or why are you here, right? Where is law enforcement? Where is the police? Where is the military? Because these people are ramping up for a violence. This is not something they're not just going to go and ask nicely. They're planning something. It could be something that's just going to lash out at anybody who they think is an immigrant. You could probably be Zulu on both sides of your family, but they're just going to attack you because they think you're an immigrant. These are not rational people. This is mob violence. This is a level of sadism that I didn't think was even possible for African people, and it's really sad because we shouldn't even be engaging in this. We got so many issues to deal with. There's so much shit coming down the pike. And this is what you want to waste your time on? You got these white people running around your continent. Oh, yeah, definitely Hotel Rwanda. I could definitely see Hotel Rwanda's level of violence coming in this. Rwandan genocide. Absolutely. I could definitely see that coming. You got these white people running around here in your country, and they're just, they're talking about there's a white genocide and they're taking all the wealth of the country, they're taking all the farmland, but you want to pick on these people who can't fight back? We ain't gonna make it, man. A lot of us are not gonna make it. We just got to be honest with ourselves. A lot of African people, they're just not gonna make it. We got to do triage at this point. Some people we just gonna have to let go. We're gonna have to let them go because this is such inappropriate behavior to be engaging in this late of the day. Like, this is just sad. I would leave because these people are insane. And I don't want to be in a situation where they're kicking down my door in the dead of night and trying to chop me up with a machete because I'm from Nigeria. This is, and that's where I feel like it's headed. It's too much. It's too prevalent online, social media. I don't hear the government speaking out about it. I've heard some information from Neferkari Dessalines talking about how the ambassadors are being called because they're in fear for their citizens' safety, and they should be. South Africa has to crack down on this type of behavior. I need to see some people in jail for making these type of threats. These people are not unknown. These aren't unknown people who are running around. These people got names. These people got addresses. Go see them. Go see them and protect the people in your country. Otherwise, you make yourself into a pariah state that nobody wants to deal with. And you know what's going to happen in a pariah state? Them white people are going to take even more land. So now they own about 75%. They don't get 95%. Black people are going to be left with nothing. But y'all are sitting here arguing over crumbs left from the white man's table. That should be your table. But you're going to find some poor black person to cook who's a barber from Nigeria, and you want to harass him in the street, and you think that makes you powerful? Sad, man. Sad, childish behavior. And this is why, as African people, we engage in too much childish behavior. Too much childish behavior. This is ridiculous. They're videotaping themselves. Lock all them dudes up, man. Throw away the key. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the carceral state, but some people need to go to jail. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Strong words from Black Steel. I appreciate it. In the chat, the group chat, or the chat, we have a poll. Would you stay or would you leave by the June 30th deadline? Please vote. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. Again, this young man that you see here is so scared that he barely gets a word out. One of the other things that you pay attention to, I know I only played the video once, but the guy in the hat that is asking both of these gentlemen from different African countries, he says, leave and leave soon. Don't wait until the 30th. Don't listen to any of our politicians. Don't listen to the government. Ramaphosa is the name of their president. And Ramaphosa right now is being asked to resign from his opposition. The government is not in control of what's going on in South Africa. And if I was the president, either you get a hold of what's going on here with these xenophobic attacks. Again, you're accosting people, literally asking people on the street, where are you from? If you guys see in this video that continues to play on a loop in the background, this young man is dragged from wherever he's dragged from and brought forth. You'll see it in the background, and that's when he finally appears by like two men that probably went and grabbed him as he tried to run away. President Ramaphosa needs to resign. It's either you get a control of the situation or you need to resign. I know these are my own opinions, but this is out of control. It gives Hotel Rwanda vibes, as we said in the chat. Comments we have here. Cheryl says, I'd stay. South Africa is huge. Just don't be where those people are. The thing is unless you know, you don't know. Unless you know where to go, you don't know where to go. Again, if you're an African immigrant, maybe there for 5 years? It sounds like, these immigrants that they're talking to don't even speak the language. So again, unless you know, and then what are you going to do? If you stay, you risk looking over your shoulder the entire time that you're there. Cheryl says, Black people still in America, in a country full of white people, where Black go missing and are mysteriously hung from trees. True indeed. Trigger.
Yeah, but how often does that happen, though? How often does that? That's not a daily occurrence now.
Let's talk about it. Amma,
But
what would you say? Go ahead.
it's not okay. That's just two examples. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that happens. I mean, two Black people in the United States. That's why some Black people are always talking about leaving. So I mean, the point is, I guess the point I'm trying to get on is, if you don't want to be in South Africa, don't be there. If you don't know nobody, it doesn't make sense to go there if you have no reason to be there. Work is not keeping you there. Then I wouldn't just go to just be like, oh look, just to prove a point, like, oh look, y'all scary. Like, I wouldn't do that. But also, I'm not going to be scary if something brings me to a point where I have to be there. I just got to make sure I and again, this is circumstantial. I have to make sure I put myself in with certain people. I got to make sure I talk to certain people. I got to, you don't put yourself in certain places. I mean, that's what you do in any part of the world. But if things tend to be, more hot, in certain areas than others, then, then you just go. I mean, it's just like any place else in the world.
Yeah, me as a Tesla, I don't stay and fight. I flee. Especially.
Oh my God, that's crazy! Don't say that.
I don't stay and fly. I flee. I flee right away. Because I can say that because see, I live in different countries, and I understand what mob justice look like. Mob justice, and if I see a man with a tiger cost hat come to me and tell me, ask me these questions, why am I here, whatever, I know the mob justice was behind that. So I'm thanking him for warning me in advance. I'm thanking him, and I'm on a plane with Black Steel. Let me go find one. Let me go to the Netherlands, where the white people there are much nicer, and they may treat me nice. Because I am old enough. Yeah, sure. I find a nice Dutch woman. Find a nice Dutch woman.
I can't.
Yeah, find a Dutch woman to rub my stomach. Because I've watched I've watched the Rwandan genocide, and I saw how the Rwandan genocide began. You know, I've really researched the Rwandan genocide, and it was almost the exact same dynamic. But the only difference is the people who were in Rwanda were Rwandese. But what these little gangsters, these little ignorant street gangsters did, they start checking the not the passports, the travel documents, the documentations, to find out whether they were Hutu or Tutsi. And what's to stop these people from doing the same thing, finding out whether the person's passport is from Ghana or Nigeria or South African? See, I've seen this play before, and I know how these things play out. And the government, like many black governments, most black governments, they are reactionary. They react after the fact. And this person, the ignorance here, is these people are not going to make me a victim. I'm going inside my house and I'm going to tell my woman, listen, we got to get out of here. Because I know what mob Negro justice look like. I know what it looks like. And I'm trying to be proactive rather than reactive. Reactive is me staying there and having the same guy with the costume on bust down my house with his friends and machetes in my hand, graping my wife and unaliving me while I watch him grape my wife. This is what the ignorance does. So if they don't want me there, I say thank you for allowing me the opportunity for staying in your country, because it's your country, nobody else's. I'll leave you to the boys. I'll leave you to the boys. If they want to take over this whole country, wonderful for them. You know what I mean? Wonderful for them. I will leave this African country. I don't need to be in this place where I'm going to be treated like, because they would never go to certain parts of where the boys live and ask the people who travel, the Europeans who travel there, the same kinds of questions. It's
They're
only
not
the
going to
Negro
Cape Town doing this. They're not going to Cape Town doing this.
Absolutely not. These things are only reserved to Negroes like me and you. Just like as if I was walking in America with a color in my shirt on, which is red or blue, and they say, "Well, what set you claiming? You got to check in. You got to check in." But if Chud the Chudder Bob, the whatever, walks around the black community, no one says nothing. No one say he wearing the wrong colors. No one threatens his life. They only have these Negro questions for Negro people. You know, Negro policing is worse. Is way worse sometimes than white man's policing. Way worse. Matron has just read a book called A Driver's Story, in talking about the actions of the slave driver, who sometimes was black, just like me and you, and how he would mistreat black people. And you have these same kind of ghosts that exist throughout the black world. You know, they think they have this level of authority, but really and truly, these people are white nationalists in blackface. And you have to understand these people for who they actually are. Like I say, I know what mob violence look like. I know what mob violence look like. And the government is going to be reactive. So let me practice proactivity and get the hell out of there. So I'm on the plane with Black Steel. Only he going back to America. Like I say, let me go find the Netherlands or some European enclave where the white lady gonna make me some mayonnaise sandwiches and rub my stomach at night and say, "Oh, it's so happy to see," and all our family come around. Because I can't deal with these Negroes, man. I gotta tell you, I'm tired. I can't deal with them. I'm not playing no games. No, I'm not playing no games. I'm not playing no games.
One question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I understand, you know, the jokes. That's fine. To be honest, please have as many jokes. What if you were from an African from some of these countries that are going through civil war, or you are from one of these countries where there might not be a quote unquote civil war, but there is turmoil? And so, you know, oftentimes, you know, as a national of some of these countries, before you go to, let's say, get asylum in, I don't know if you said Switzerland, but one of these Europe countries where you're going to get the white woman to rub your belly as you fill your belly up with whatever nasty food that they eat. You have to go back to those African nations. Like Cameroon, you know, is currently going through a split between the English side and the French side. Somalia, you know, the side that deals with whether it's Al-Shabaab or just turmoil inside South Sudan, for instance, would you go back to those countries? Because oftentimes you have to go back to your host nation before you get those asylum. So if that was the case, would you still then flee, like you said?
If I was from those countries, would I go back to the country that I belong to?
Yeah,
is
so
that what
like,
you're saying?
Yeah, so oftentimes to get asylum in like European or Australia or United States, it takes some time. So in that in between time, when these local thugs, I'm going to call them local thugs in South Africa, are saying, "Hey, June 30th is your date," but like that guy said with the, I don't know if it's like a cheetah, I don't know what's on his head here, but hey, don't wait until the 30th of June. Go ahead and just leave as soon as you can. Well, you're waiting for asylum in a European or Western nation. You got to go back to your host nation, and your host nation is very hostile. Would you still then flee?
Well, certainly, I would. See, I don't know if you see this, Jacadero, but what he said to him was just an open threat. I don't know if you took that like that, but I took that as an extreme open threat. He was nice about it, but it was a threat. So if I have to wait, like you say, to get whatever, to leave the visa, to get leave whatever, I would certainly leave that area. Because what he did in this video was an open, direct threat to him, his family, his children, and any person who may have come with him in that particular place. Because as Black Steve was saying, or you were saying, you don't know what's behind that threat. Like I say, I know and understand Negro more violence and ignorance and justice. I understand it to a severe degree. I really understand it. So it's good that he forewarned him. But I would try to at least get out of this area until I could leave. No matter what brilliance I bring into this area, obviously they are saying we don't want it. We want Boerism. We want apartheid. We don't mind that the boys are ruling and running this country, and we ain't trying to have nothing different from what we've been experiencing. Thank you very much, Black man. Go back to where you come from. And I would say my response would be thank you for the forewarning, and I'll tell my woman, let's get the hell out of here. That's what I would tell her.
One of the arguments that I've seen on the internet, whether it's Twitter X or any others, is South Africans defending the xenophobic attacks and the xenophobic rhetoric, and they say that we have corruption in our country just like the other Africans have corruption in their country. We, in order for us to deal with that, we have to deal with you first to get out. So that way you're not interrupting anything and or aiding. Like what D Webb said, maybe just maybe some of these Africans have been aiding in the past their progress to actual liberation. Anybody can join in on that. Is that total BS?
That's
or
BS. That's BS. Because corruption is coming from the white people, from the European.
Yeah.
That's where the corruption is coming from. Life is short, man. Life is short. You don't have to. You know what? We are Pan-Africans on this panel, I believe, right? We understand that African people are one people, regardless of where we are on the continent, right? These borders that are drawn on maps ever created by Europeans in fucking Germany in 1885 or whatever the fuck, right? They divided Africa as a way to exploit its resources. But here we are, over 100 years later, and these people are still following these same lines, these same rules, these same countries that were made up and using it to oppress other Africans. I mean, man, this is such nonsense that I don't think that is safe. If they want this to be, they're claiming about corruption and whatnot and everything that's being done. The call is coming from inside the house. And that call is being made by the Afrikaner and the Boer. But yet, here you are pressing this man. Go press them crackers in Johannesburg. Go press them boys over there in Cape Town. Leave your fellow black man alone. He is not caught. He's a cook. How is he contributing to the corruption? He's a cook. He's not the problem. The people who are stealing our money and own 75% of farmland is the problem. But the problem, and this is the real issue, these people are powerless to do anything against the vote. They know, or maybe they don't know, but maybe they know that who the real problem is, but they don't have any power to do anything about it. And I think this is really the whole crux of my argument when dealing with we talk about black on black, how black people won't bust a grape against white people, but they'll go against black people. The reason that is because the consequence for hurting a white person are much more severe than hurting another black person. And we understand this, right? You can't get at the white person who's destroying your community, who's robbing your country, but you can get at that black dude from Nigeria who cuts hair and all the women like him because he eat coochie. Okay, him you can get, but you can't get the white man in Pretoria who's ruining your life. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute.
Well, you know, one of the arguments they were saying is that the foreigners are stealing all the women. And the
Oh
women
my
were
God.
saying the men in South Africa, they don't like to dine on Southern cuisine, quote unquote. So the problem is that they're frustrated that the girls is filling up, the other dudes, and they're not getting no play. That's part of it. So that's why I mentioned I wasn't trying to be vulgar. I just wanted to. That was part of the issue. They were saying that women preferred the foreign men. But even so, like we talked about before, a white person can go into the hood and wear whatever color shirt they want. Because if you were to hurt that white person, you finna have every police station, the police, the SWAT team, the FBI, the Boy Scouts, everybody finna come messing with you. Okay? That's what it is. But if a black person gets killed or robbed, it's just another nigga. Who cares? The police, they're gonna do a little cursory examination. They might put up a flyer, but they're not going to put, and we know this. So that's why we're so bold to attack another black person, because there's no, the consequences aren't as severe. They're not as severe. Look what happened when Zimbabwe took back the farmland from those white farmers and gave it to the black people. International sanctions destroyed their economy. They didn't do that to Rwanda, and they murdered over 1 million people. So at the same time, they understand that the consequences they're going to face, they're just not going to be quite as serious. So they're going after these poor black people. And it's 2020. We should know better. This is something we should know better than to do. It's sad. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Any remarks?
It is sad, but it is also dangerous. This level of ignorance and powerlessness is not only sad, but it's dangerous. And like I say, I know danger when I see it. I know danger. I know exactly what it looks like. And because of their powerlessness and cowardliness, by the way, that Black Steel mentioned the last time when we was talking about referencing South Africa, they won't go after the real people, the 7%, but they'll go after the poor baba on the street corner, trying to make a couple of dollars, a couple of rands, cutting hairs and things like that, or because he's dating a South African woman. It's so cowardly and powerless, but it's also extremely dangerous, because within their ignorance, they will rob this man's house, they will rob this man, they will harm him in some way, just to exert that low level of power. So like I say, it is sad and pathetic, but it's also dangerous as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like in any nation, if you're the immigrant, bro, you're kind of subject to be a victim of violence more than anybody, right? Like even in America, it's the thing in America, right? Where like if you come from like a different country, in order to get your green card, even if you come here legally, right, you can't own a firearm, you can't do anything. So a lot of times you get paid in cash when you, like, particularly like this guy, he might get paid in cash, right? If he depending on if his papers right or not, right? So those people are targeted first for robbery and things of that nature. They can't own the firearm. And I don't know how the gun laws is in South Africa, but here it's like, okay, you can't even you can't even get you a 9 to protect you, and you run around with cash, so you're always a victim. So that's the inherent problem, even with other black groups. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're always going to be the target because you're the immigrant, you're the minority in this area. So you got to recognize. So I agree with Bonner, like, get while the getting's good, dog. Like, if y'all want me out of here, go ahead, fight the boy by yourself. Fuck it, I'm out. Bye. You know what I mean? If your only motivation is purely financial, then fuck it, I'm out. You feel me?
It's also important to know, since we're talking about the rights and your safety as being an immigrant in somebody else's country, I point you guys to the evidence in Assata Shakur's autobiography, where she told a story about how her and her brother really wanted to go to an amusement park during days of segregation, and her mom was well aware that the amusement park was segregated to whites only. And they begged, and finally one day, Assata and her brother's mom came home and said, "We're gonna go, but you guys don't say anything. All speak." When they arrived at the ticket counter, the lady, in shock, let them know, "Hey, this is a whites only park. You guys are not allowed." Assata's mother then proceeded to just have a conversation in Spanish, and when the lady responded back in English, Assata's mother then continued in Spanish. Long story short, they let them in, and they were the only black people riding on the rides. But the part that Assata is trying to convey was that it was assumed that either they were Dominican or Cuban, but some sort of Latin or Hispanic nationals living in the United States, even though they were black. And so what I'm trying to connect here is that, even as an immigrant, sure, you might not be allowed to own a firearm in the United States, but you're protected because you have a country that's backing you. And thus, it ruins foreign policy. It ruins diplomatic relationships when, again, you're an immigrant, so you're a guest in somebody else's home. When you're being treated as such, it can possibly destroy long-term relationships. Again, that's just my thought. Maybe you guys have your own thoughts about it. But again, the evidence was from Assata Shakur's autobiography.
Sidney Poitier talked about something similar like that too when he was came from the Bahamas, and a white person tried to, he responded very forcefully with a white man, and they were like, "Where you from?" He said, "I'm from the Bahamas." "Oh, okay." And I guess they kind of let him slide, like, you don't know our ways here. But you can't always count on that, though. You can't always count on that, because the police have killed several African people in the United States. That didn't save them being from, not knowing the ways and the social norms or whatnot. They got it anyway. When they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. Ignorance of the customs is no excuse. They'll still do you in. That's just what I think about that.
I'm gonna ask a question. Is it beneficial for Africans to move from an African nation to a European nation or a Western nation? I guess some people don't consider the United States a European nation, but we say Western nation. Like the way that my parents have had, this entire time that we've been living here, they've never moved back. So my question to you guys in the panel: is it beneficial for Africans to move from an African nation like South Africa to Botswana's a Scandinavian country where he can be fed and rubbed and have his belly rubbed?
I would say this, man. This whole world is in a world of upheaval. I would not recommend any African person to move to the United States of America. We about to be going through our own Hotel Rwanda levels violence out here. Yeah, white people go around calling black people the N-word, and I would say this. You got to do what you got to do, right? Some of those situations, life is intolerable, right? They literally can barely make it day to day. I would not recommend going to a European nation if I didn't have to. And I guess maybe South Africa, because it's closer. It's a majority black nation. It's a compromise. I don't know what I would do. I've talked to, my family members and whatnot. And in case of emergency, where we go, where you going? I've heard people say Costa Rica, people say the Bahamas, Belize. I couldn't see myself going to a majority white country if I had to leave. Even Canada, I just wouldn't want to. I would want to go back to Ghana or maybe, whatever country would be more accepting of black people for leaving. They're really stuck between a rock and a hard place here because Europe is racist. The Italian Navy was literally letting black migrants drown in the Mediterranean Sea. And then you go to Russia and they put you on the front lines against the Ukrainians and strap bombs to you. So it's like out of the frying pan into the fire. Like you're screwed no matter where you go. I couldn't say I definitely wouldn't recommend going to Europe, or any place like that. And then the US is definitely not a good place. The truth of the matter is, black people, we're really all we got. We can't go to another group of people looking for asylum. We are really all we have. And we have to improve our conditions ourselves because there's nobody that's going to do it for us. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Any other thoughts?
If I had a choice, I was definitely put me on the trip to Air Canada. I'm going to Air Canada. If I was to go to a black country, maybe Burkina Faso, but even though I know that there are certain limitations in Burkina Faso, I would want to go to Burkina Faso. See, the thing is with these black enclaves is these black enclaves are just an imitation of white enclaves. The countries themselves, these former colonial countries, are really just imitations of European countries. And they think of these countries which have not gotten it right yet. They're trying to put a European suit on an African body, and in them doing that, there are levels of dysfunction that you can't believe. You can't believe, brother. You can't believe. And it's not to disparage my community, my African community, but I see how they function, bro. I see how they function, and the people are neglected severely. It's almost as if you are on your own. And then you go into another country, a European country, unfortunately, and this is an unfortunate reality, because of the laws of their countries, the immigrants or the immigrant people population are treated much better. Now, I agree with Black Steel when he say, no, I wouldn't go to the Americas because the Americas are becoming more and more right-wing, as if they never was right-wing. But when you go to a place like Canada, where you have a free healthcare system, and my homegirl who lives in England, during the Corona situation, they was bringing her groceries. She's a Black British. They're bringing her groceries. I couldn't imagine that happening in this country. I couldn't imagine that happening. The social programs, and I'm not saying that you should ever live on the graces of other people, because you shouldn't. You should try to get your shit together. But I'm saying that the social welfare and care system for the population, because of the laws, is miles better. It's miles better if we having a practical conversation. And until the African nations decide to actually become African nations and not parrot European nations, I gotta disagree with that. I would be on send me to Montreal, send me to Toronto, send me to Toronto. I live and I love the Bahamas. The Bahamas is a beautiful, beautiful country. It's a well-organized country. The transition of power is not, we have not necessarily seen any levels of violence like how you have in Jamaica and Haiti. Thank goodness. We haven't seen that level of violence. But there has, when there have been transfers of power, there has been violence, but not to that level. But I live in a country where, listen, man, I could point to various different things, even though this country is a beautiful country and things can be done. But because we are still trying to parrot European countries, you can't put, I keep saying that you can't put a European suit on an African body. There's always going to be shortfalls and high levels of dysfunction. And then people talk about corruption, you know, and until we do that, it's what's the difference? I say, what is the difference? If I go to an African country as opposed to a European country, one speaks Swahili but still practicing European culture, and one speaking French or German or English but practicing European culture there. But they doing it better because they're Europeans, you know. But that's just me. That maybe I being negative. I shouldn't be negative. I shouldn't be negative. But I just deal with it. I see it on a different kind of way. I see it in a different way. Let me just put it like that.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Don't do the
you know what?
Commonwealth nations, dog. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sister.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Nah, I'll be super quick too. Two things, bro. Avoid Commonwealth nations. Avoid EU. I know it looks great. All that glitters ain't gold, dog. If shit hits the fan, the first thing they're gonna do is the people who don't look like the people who were there originally, they're gonna be the target, bro. So go to some place where you can blend in. So either a black nation or a place that has a very diverse population, the Columbias of the world, where it's like cats looking like me or something like that. But go somewhere where you can blend. If you can shut up and go with a group of people and they not figure out who the hell you is unless you open your mouth, that's a good criteria. And go someplace where you can have a rifle, because at the end of the day, it might just be you and 30 rounds keeping motherfucker off you. So those are my two criteria. But go ahead, sis. I'm sorry.
Just like that. But you know, the one thing I notice about black people, just in general, it don't matter if you immigrant or not, we tend to have this thing where we think, okay, so I can use any really major city in the United States. Like when black people are in a neighborhood and there's a whole bunch of black people that live there historically, and they, you know, they get a little money and you know they get up out of there and they where's the first place they move? Right? The suburbs, right? And then 10 years later, you go back to that same neighborhood that you left that was quote unquote the hood, and you notice something because it happens every 10, 20 years. They do what? They start different types of people start moving in, right? You get there's gentrification. You know, the area is quote unquote better, and black people, and it's better. It's I wouldn't say it's better. I would say that black people's mindsets and other, I wouldn't even just say white people, but other groups of people's mindsets are vastly different in the sense that it doesn't, for instance, it don't matter where people from India, talking about the people with the dot on their head. I'm not trying to be ignorant or nothing, but just for clarification, not Native American, but the Indians with dot on their head don't matter where they move in the world. They are always together. They don't let nothing about what other people say about it being the hood. They make it what they want to make it. Okay, they bring their language and their culture and their whatever cultural values and practices. They bring it there. They don't care where it is. They don't care what people say about it. Black people have this thing where we think we hear another black person say, "Oh, that's the hood. You gotta move out of there. You gotta move to a better neighborhood." And we all disperse, and everybody's an individual. Nobody sticks together. All black people do it everywhere, and it's just like it. I just sometimes it's like, do we not see like even when white people like for instance, um, in Philadelphia, West Philly, people be like, "Oh yeah, that's the hood. Don't go there. Don't go to Southwest Philly. Don't go there." But you notice when white people move in, they be moving in together. Like they buy up property together. They don't care what people say about the area. They gonna move there, and they gonna fix it up, and they gonna do. We need to get. I mean, not in America, but we need. But if you're in America, you do, you know, you're doing what you can. That's that's the mindset that we need to be having, and we're not there. We still on we gotta one up each other type of stuff. So I think I think like with I don't know if like the answer is always to flee. Like I don't want to say to flee, but to leave. That's not always the answer. We because we keep running and we run to these places. You know, to Canada. Canada does not have free healthcare. I'm telling you that right now. Canada is. I don't know how if you ain't balling out of control. I don't even know how you living in Canada. If you choose to get up and go there right now, how you gonna afford it? It's more expensive than California and New York. I don't know where you're gonna live. You're gonna live in a shoebox. You gonna live with six roommates. I guess that's what you because it's bad there now. Maybe 25 years ago you had a chance. You don't really stand a chance now if you're not a brain surgeon. So I mean I don't know what you're gonna do. And then healthcare is not free. Your property tax is extremely high. Um, everything's high. You don't get seen the. It may seem like you don't pay because you don't pay a lot because you don't pay out of pocket, but they get you in other ways. They get you their taxes extremely high. Everything's high. So you can't even buy a nice house in Montreal, in Toronto, wherever you want to go. You can't even buy nothing. I don't know what you're gonna do. Like, but I know if you don't live in Toronto, if you don't live in Canada, you don't have no experience in Canada. Like that makes sense that people want to live there. Like I'm not like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Because if you don't live there, you don't know. But I'm telling you, it's like the guy said, all that glitters is not gold. Like it's not great. It's not great at all. People just be like, oh, they got nice streets and they got free healthcare. They have no free healthcare. They do not have free healthcare at all. They don't.
I lived in Canada. I lived in Canada. I lived in Scarborough. You know, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no sweat, no sweat. I lived in Scarborough, and what happens is the system is they tax you a whole lot. They tax you like how they tax the British. They tax you high, but the medical care there is not as like you say you pay some, but you don't it's nowhere near the cost of American in terms of healthcare in America. Nowhere near it.
You know what
Nowhere
it is
near it.
about America? You know what it is about America? Uh, I wouldn't say that you're wrong. I would just say that there's a lot of different systems that you can choose from. It's like because Canada is so limited, it's so small. They only have like one. They only have. I mean, I wouldn't say one, but they don't have as many options for healthcare as the states does. Now, I'm not like all for healthcare and all of that stuff like that. If you need it, you need it. But you know, I do the naturalistic thing. But I wouldn't say that they're vastly different from each other. I wouldn't go that far because America has a lot of different types of ways, a lot of different healthcare options. They have a lot of different type of things. So it's intricate and it's vast. I'm not gonna get into that, but I wouldn't say it's better by any means.
I would say it. I would say it's much better. It's vastly better in terms of the medications, the cost of the medications that you could receive in Canada as opposed to the United States. That's why many Americans they travel to, especially if you live in the New York area, they travel to Toronto and Canada to get cheaper medications because the cost is so low.
They
They
travel to get cheaper medications, but if you are a cancer patient and you're waiting in line, you're gonna be waiting forever in Canada. You can't even be seen. They don't have free walk-in clinics. You're gonna be waiting hours. Like they don't when it comes maybe you're right when it comes to medications, but other aspects are not so great.
Yeah, but in
So it
America
sounds like you
you
can listen to that big pharma propaganda there, Cheryl.
yeah, but in America you won't get any treatment whatsoever if you don't have no money. You done. You could, I rather wait
Yeah,
hours. I rather wait hours rather than not
you're
waiting at
not
all
gonna get
because you don't
anything.
get it at all.
You're not gonna
Like
get anything. I mean, you're
I
not
give
gonna really. And but you know who absorbs that cost when people go into and you get your free healthcare. If you ain't got no money, if that's the scenario, and you ain't got no money, and you ain't got nothing, and you living in a shoebox in Canada, and you go in to get healthcare, whose pocket is that coming out of?
Who cares?
Yours. It's coming out of your. It's your. That's what I'm saying. The overall, the living, the cost of living is exponential. I wouldn't even want to live there. It's
But
not
here's
worth
it.
it.
I hear you.
That's not been my
in
experience.
America, people regularly die because they can't afford their insulin. Like that's a common thing.
But Americans,
I used to work in
Americans
healthcare.
are different. It's different though because Americans are like that can be attributed to the like like that's
No,
going
no,
into
no,
another
no,
can
no,
of
no.
words.
Let me
That's
tell you
going
where
into
it
a
comes from.
whole
Let
nother
me tell you
thing.
where it
That's
comes
going to a
from. I
whole
used to
nother
work
thing.
for United Healthcare, right?
Oh, well.
So the problem in the
One
United
company.
States, right, that a lot of other countries don't have is that there's a pharmaceutical lobby in Washington that helps drive up the prices. They can charge anything. So they can charge you $100 for a bottle of saline in America, where in Canada or Mexico or in the European Union, they don't have that problem. So the
What problem do they have?
Say what?
What problem do they have?
The problem of the pharmaceutical lobby.
In Canada?
Oh, yeah, in Canada. They don't have the pharmaceutical lobby.
No, I'm asking what problems does Canadian healthcare have? Because people that live there.
I'm not speaking on Canadian healthcare. I'm speaking of American healthcare. I'm not talking about Canadian. And the American healthcare I'm talking about is how the pharmaceutical lobby is in bed with the politicians and the other companies drive up the cost of our healthcare. That's why the United States has the most expensive healthcare in the world with the worst outcomes. I know people who went to Mexico to get dental work done because the costs of the United States are just astronomically high. So are there problems? Absolutely. But they don't have the corporate. America is very much a corporate. It's not even ran by the people anymore. They're by corporations and Fortune 500 CEOs who are just basically driving up the price for everything, which is why everything is so damn expensive for people.
Canada too. I mean, they have the same problem. They pretty much have the same problem. It's just filtered differently.
Juana, you've been there, do they?
It's not the same. It's not the same problems. It's not the same.
He's one person. It's not the same problem for him. It is the same problem for other people.
Like who? Hello?
If it was the same problem,
yeah,
people
so
going to Canada.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same.
No. They're going for medications. They're going for prescription medications.
Not just prescriptions.
Okay, what else?
Procedures done too.
Like what?
Dental care.
I'm talking. Okay. So there's many facets of healthcare. It's not just dental and prescription medications. There's other stuff too. So I mean, these other things are. It's just okay. I'm not advocating for American healthcare. I'm just saying that it's not vastly different.
No, it is.
It's not better.
No, it is better.
In terms of money,
but it is
in terms of money.
Going to Canada first.
It's better. It's better. Yeah, people who have money are going there.
Not every.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Oh,
no,
you bring me the statistics. You bring me this because listen, I have half of my family, my in-laws live there, and it's not so great for them. So, I don't want to go based on specific people, but in general, like it's so. My point is that the cost of living is so high that you can't even get to that. Like most people can't even get to that. That's what I'm saying.
No. That's the. First of all, let me say this: the Canadian dollar is. I can't remember what it is right now, but it's weaker than the U.S. dollar. It's weaker than the U.S. dollar.
Okay.
When I lived there, the cost of living, it to me, it was relative. Now,
when did you live there?
Maybe this is like 10 years ago. Goodness. But I would say that it's relative. It's relative. And it's not exactly the same, but it's relative. I would compare them almost on an equal plane. But you are right. When it comes to, of course, the Canadians export more, well, import more items from North America. That is a fact. But as far as the healthcare system and the education system, they are on par. There are more people, especially immigrants. They travel to get educated in Canada as opposed to America, because the Canadian education system is much cheaper, and you get the same education, but you can get it less costly than you would if you was traveling to any of these U.S. universities, and it's the same education. I mean, all around. I mean, when I live in Toronto is like a cleaner version of New York City, man. I gotta tell you. You know, but like I say, everyone's experiences are very different. But this is the reason why Americans, they engage in medical tourism, because the cost to get medical treatments are so expensive. They go to the DR, they go to Cuba, they go to all over these enclaves because of the cost of the medical care and facilities in the United States of America, and you're getting more or less the same kind of treatment, but you're paying like phenomenal costs. And for the people who can go, they have a choice. Either you find a way to pay us or you die. And that's not a choice for people who are actually trying to live. That's why they are engaging in medical tourism. Many Americans engage in medical tourism.
I will say this, though. I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mangione, he didn't kill that CEO for no reason. That dude died for a reason.
Yeah, but you know, it is problems with socialized healthcare as well. You know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You go ahead. My bad.
No, I was to say, socialized medicine does have their issues as well. Like, is America trash? Hell yeah. I work with Medicare. I gotta do certain shit for certain people, whatever. But the system here is pretty trash. But they do have their issues as well. Like people waiting around. You have to basically wait to get any kind of service, right? I will say this too: when you have a socialized medicine, now we have a problem here where the health companies, right, decide if they're gonna pay for something. If they don't pay for something, you fucking die, even if you have insurance, right? Over there, they did kind of deal with something similar, to be honest with you, because the government decides, like, okay, you're 78 years old. Do we need to give you this kidney transplant? You know what I'm saying? So that's a government decision up there. Also, just in general with the whole socialized medicine thing, I know a young lady that was up there. Let's talk to this young lady that was up there. She lived in right outside Toronto, right? Kid got sick. This was probably like 5-6 years ago. Her kid got sick. They had to go to the hospital to get the surgery and all this other stuff. Because she didn't get like that vaccine, they wouldn't let her visit her child. They wouldn't let her stay in the Ronald McDonald house for the surgeries and all this other shit. They weren't about to give the surgery. She had to fight for that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying they didn't do some fugazi shit down here, but up there, you got to realize that your life with socialized medicine just means government control medicine. And that means the government decides if you live or die. They decide if you need the service that you get. Here it's the insurance companies, and that's trash too. But up there, it's not a perfect slate either, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still somebody deciding if you're worth the risk. And if you're over retirement age, you in your fucking 60s and you need a major surgery, good motherfucking luck. Right? Yep. They're even instituting those little machines, like they're like doing euthanasia up there. You know the fuck I'm.
They're paying people to kill themselves.
Yeah, so
that's right. That is true. That's true. And I you know what, D-Web, I agree with euthanasia. You know, but needless to say, I will tell you that in a minute. I agree with euthanasia, but I'll say this: what happens in the Bahamas is there are a lot of people who can't travel to the Americas, especially when you're talking about getting certain surgeries. So because they don't have the money to do that, they go to Cuba and they get socialized operations there because the cost is much cheaper.
Facts, bro. I put the chat about Colombia. Like I literally was on a plane and it's people going there.
Yeah, they gotta go
surgeries. You feel me?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Is trash in general, bro.
Yeah, but they do have euthanasia. You're right, and the reason why I agree with euthanasia is this idea of quality of life. Quality of life. If I have a dreaded sickness that is costing me to have pains every day, and my quality of life is shit, why am I here? Why am I here?
Nah, it's people that's depression, euthanizing themselves, bro. That's just
That's different. If they want to,
I'm
They just
dead
tried
serious,
taking.
bro.
They had COVID hotels. They had
Yeah, like
COVID hotels where they was making people pay thousands of dollars. Canada is
lock
crazy.
people up for a while. They was keeping you in a
Canada is
certain area
crazy.
when if you left, you came back.
Canada is
They kept you in a
wild.
hotel. Yeah, so it
That's
was
a
crazy.
communist.
hey, if they want to help themselves, man, that's a hey. I guess it's better than doing it in a hotel room. But as far as what Amo was saying, she couldn't. The person couldn't see that person. You know, I couldn't see my father when he caught COVID, and he was in hospital. They wouldn't allow us in, and when he died by himself. You know, they didn't let us. I had to. Well, I didn't even. Well, I was away. Well, I was away from him, but I wasn't even in the hospital room when he passed because of the COVID. It's a fucked up situation, man. You know,
Did they make you stay? That's messed up. But did they make you stay in a COVID hotel where they made you pay thousands of dollars? I can't with Canada. Every time my husband tells me something, I'm like, what the hell is this?
I love Canada, man. I like
What
Canada. I
the
like Canada.
the average cost of you want to buy a house right now? The average cost is like over. It's like 750,000.
It is expensive in Canada. It is expensive.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Well, why would I do that when I can go to Texas and pay for it's still cheaper, even in American dollars, it's still cheaper. So for 250, I could get a house for 250? You gotta be kidding me. I'll take my chances. Deuces.
You taking chances in Texas? You taking chances in
Yes,
Texas?
yes, I will. Because guess what? It's a lot of black people there. I just go to the black part. And Canada's only got like what, 3% black people. I'm good.
All right. Well, if there isn't anything else, I think it is a time to go ahead and get people familiar with what you guys are happy about. And how do we do that? Well, of course, come on now. We got shout outs. That's right. So, whatever it is that you want to highlight, that you want to give notice to, this is your time. We'll start off with ladies first. Come on, we're chivalrous Pan African men here. What say you? And what's your shout out for today?
I don't know. Just shout out to y'all because y'all be making me laugh. y'all, y'all be cracking me up, but it's a good time. And I enjoy everybody's perspectives. And I love y'all.
Oh man, you're gonna make me shed a gangster tear, Alma. Man, we love you. We appreciate you. Any of our other women, part of the Bitter Medicine podcast, Quasi Radio. Man, we appreciate each and every one of you ladies, man. So don't ever think any different. D Webb of the Harsh Reality Podcast. What's your shout out for today or this week or this month?
Hey man, shout out to y'all, man. I always enjoy building with y'all, man. Smart brothers and sisters, man. Always bringing knowledge. And shout out to my babies, man. My oldest or my bonus baby, she graduated college and high school. She got a dual thing where she was going to school and high school. So she got a associates and also a high school diploma at the same time. So we partying it up next week for that. My oldest got like a 4.8 GPA. She just got her art got selected to be in this courthouse up in South Carolina. So salute to my babies, man. If I did anything in life, I created some smart children. So you know what I'm saying? I'm grateful for that. And I'm just grateful to be alive, man, and be able to talk to y'all, brother.
Hey, big congratulations to you and yours, man. That's awesome. That's big. Black Steel, what's your shout outs for today, this week, this month?
Shout out to that brother that punched Chuck the building and shit.
Hold up. I got a question. Who the heck is Chud? What is a Chud? Who that?
You don't know who Chuck the building?
You gotta look him up online.
You
gotta look him up online.
That's good.
Oh my God. All right.
This is white dude. He was going around Tennessee, Nashville, Clarksville, whatever. And he claimed himself to be a proponent of freedom of speech, but he was using it to call black people slurs, niggas, so they were chipping out or whatnot. And he was trying to provoke a reaction. And then the other day,
what? Wait. There was what? Chip?
He said if black people reacts, he says that we're chimping out like a chimpanzee.
Oh wow.
So what happened is that he was going around and he was kind of viral, and he was saying, all type of racial slurs. And then the police warned him that, we know where this is headed. So he got arrested the other day because he refused to pay his bill or something at a restaurant. He gets out of jail. He sees this black man. He starts accosting him, calling him an N-word and all type of other slurs. And the dude tells him, I'm not with that. I got PTSD. Leave me alone. Chud reaches for his pistol. The dude hits him. He shoots the guy. He lives. He survived. He shoots himself in the arm, and now he's being charged with attempted murder.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's I'm glad you didn't know about that. You're purer than I am, I'm afraid.
Oh my
But yeah,
goodness.
he's been
I
going
gotta look this
viral
up.
using racial slurs against black people.
That's crazy. Wow.
I
That's
appreciate
random.
My shout out is to shout out to your brothers and sisters. I enjoy our conversations. Y'all are very intelligent black people. I wish I could take y'all with me and live around y'all, because I know y'all would keep the yard clean and y'all wouldn't play reggae music at 3 o'clock in the morning and and y'all would hang out in the
No, I'm sorry.
I got in the corners just doing some goofy shit and plot to rob me as I come because y'all think it's payday. But shout out to all the intelligent black people, man, around the world. I really do love and care and consider you all brothers and sisters, as I go and do whatever I need to do. And I think that I wish we could have more people like you all. We need to have a groundswell of intelligent black people. But unfortunately, we are outnumbered. But we're gonna try to work on that as best as we can. To answer Koku's question, I do think that they have channels like this. They have some Bahamian guy on his platform. I forget, they call him foreign man from a foreign land, and then they have this Bahamian lady. She has a podcast where her engagement is different. She's in New York City. She's a lawyer, but their engagements are different. It's not like how we have this platform and panel. But like I say, I do appreciate the brothers and sisters who come on and have excellent points of views and challenge my views sometimes and bring a different kind of perspective. It's very refreshing, and I hope that these kind of people grow in the world as opposed to die out. And I congratulate D-Web. He's another man, a father, who is able to educate his children in a way that she will be productive and effective in this life. So you have to repeat yourself. You have to repeat yourself. And him as a father was able to do that. And we have to develop more of these kinds of brothers and sisters around the world. And I'm sure Amma is going to do the same thing as well with her kids. So shout out to y'all brothers and sisters. Yeah, I'll leave it. And I'm sure that my Kenyan Luau brother is working on his as well. So I'll just leave it there.
Y'all gonna make me shed gangster tears tonight, man. You guys are so awesome, man. As far as shout outs, number one, shout out to the chancellor, the new chancellor of University of Nebraska Medical Center. He's a Nigerian. He became the new chancellor back in March, but it was because of his decision making that we had taken those passengers from that boat that carried the hantavirus outbreak. So no matter what your feelings are on that, imagine an African diaspora made that decision. The chancellor of UNMC Nebraska, University of Nebraska Medical Center, where the national quarantine unit is. I don't know if it's the only one, but at least it's the one where literally those American passengers who had the hantavirus outbreak are here, treated here. That decision was made by an African. I always love highlighting individuals like that because it's not all the time that we get highlighted as being decision makers, but we did. And so my shout out goes to Dr. Dele Davies of Nigeria, and again the chancellor of UNMC, University of Nebraska Medical Center. Then second, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, if you ain't know. And we do a lot of things, and one of those things that we do really, really well is we connect you through the Empowerment Network. That's right. The largest and strongest Black empowerment network here in the Midwest. We partner with sister cities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Houston, Texas, Kansas City, Missouri, Lansing and East Lansing, Michigan, and everything outside and in between. We just had a rebuild, the 19th annual Rebuilding the Village conference. It just happened. So the next one will be Rebuilding the Village Part 2 in October or September, I believe. But for all of this and more and how you can get involved, www.empoweromaha.com, the official website of the #1, again, strongest and most proud Black organization here in the Midwest. And with that being said, also my last shout out is to Koku, man. Brother Koku, I appreciate you and everything that you do for us here at Quaz Radio. With that being said, man, I thank you guys for being patient with us. We had two different streams. How does that work? Well, this only happens with you, the viewer. And for that, I say thank you and peace. Until next time. Let's go.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.